This week in Jamaica Now, massive gun find, parts found in a Kingston shipment that can assemble 39 guns. Prime Minister Andrew Holness accuses Jamaica's main anti-corruption body of targeting his reputation. Freed, 2 senior officials in the Petrojam fraud scandal found not guilty. And historic, government introduces a law to remove King Charles as Jamaica's head of state. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. Law enforcement authorities this week seized parts capable of assembling 39 pistols and 1 rifle, along with almost 3,000 rounds of ammunition in a shipment at a wharf in Kingston. The discovery was made during a joint operation by the Firearms and Narcotics Investigation Division of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Customs Agency's Contraband Enforcement Team on Wednesday. The shipment, originating from the United States, was declared as containing groceries and clothing. However, upon inspection, 5 barrels were found to hold 3 fully assembled firearms, along with pistol slides, rifle barrels, magazines, and other firearm components. Investigations are underway to track the recipients of the shipment and uncover any connections to firearm trafficking networks. The seizure represents one of the largest of its kind this year, and the police have said it is a significant dent in the criminal underworld. In February, a joint operation between the police's counter-terrorism and organized crime branch and the Customs Agency intercepted more than 64 assorted 9mm pistols at the Kingston wharves. The shipment also originated in the United States. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has accused the Integrity Commission of engaging in what he calls a transparent attempt to attack his reputation. It follows this week's release of a report alleging that a company linked to Mr. Holness's business partner Norman Brown breached the law by building an apartment complex with more rooms than a permit allowed in St. Andrew. The report from the Commission's Director of Investigation, Kevin Stevenson, said that the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation also failed to ensure that Estate Bridge Holdings Limited complied with the terms of the permit issued in 2021. A company solely owned by Mr. Holness, Imperium Investments, owned shares in Estate Bridge up to October 2022. The current shareholders of Estate Bridge are Mr. Brown, one of Mr. Holness's sons, and a sister. Mr. Brown is the chairman of the state's Urban Development Corporation and the Housing Agency of Jamaica, both of which report to Mr. Holness. The permit allowed for the construction of 4 2-bedroom units in Beverly Hills, St. Andrew. But the IC's chief investigator said they found 4 units with 4 bedrooms during an inspection in July. Mr. Stevenson said the deviation aligned with a statement that Mr. Brown gave in December 2023 at a time when the issue was not being investigated. He also said that during the unannounced inspection, the IC's team observed the demolition of some of the structures. Estate Bridge has rejected the allegations, saying that the Commission cannot make any determination on the number of rooms because the development is incomplete. The director said that at no time did the KSAMC observe a breach in the room count during its inspections. They say some variations were noted in recent KSAMC inspections and applications to deal with those issues are in process. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said he was puzzled that he was mentioned in the report because he was neither a director nor a shareholder in Estate Bridge. The Integrity Commission noted Mr. Holness's disclosure in a separate probe that his now shuttered offshore company ADMAT transferred the property to Estate Bridge under a land development agreement. ADMAT's assets minus the property in Beverly Hills were transferred to Imperium. And the Mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, who is from the opposition party, has demanded a report from the technical officials. Both Mr. Holness and his business partner are separately challenging an Integrity Commission report in court. That report raised questions about Mr. Holness's finances and also said that Mr. Brown's roles on the boards that report to Mr. Holness raised conflict of interest concerns. And the opposition People's National Party, PNP, has accused the government of downplaying concerns in the Integrity Commission's report. It has questioned the Prime Minister's distancing from Estate Bridge, noting his now dissolved offshore company ADMAT provided the land to the developer. The PNP says Mr. Holness faces what it calls untenable possibilities for conflicts of interest given his and his wife's real estate ties and his oversight of key regulatory agencies. The party says he should give up his oversight of entities that are involved in the real estate sector. Meanwhile, Information Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says the Cabinet is in full support of Mr. Holness amid the latest IC report.
The Prime Minister's statement was very clear. He said many things. He thought that this was a transparent attempt at attacking his character. He was very clear on that. And I know that we in the cabinet, we stand with the Prime Minister on this matter. And these are definitely matters that are before the court. And so I try not to speak about matters that are before the court. But the Prime Minister in his statement was very clear that he was not a director, he's not a shareholder, and he doesn't own the property.
The Integrity Commission's case brought against Jamaica Labour Party Member of Parliament Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert will proceed to trial. That was the ruling of Parish Court Judge Leighton Morris on Friday. Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert's attorneys, King's Counsel Peter Champagny and Nico Pagan, had raised preliminary points regarding the charges against the legislator and the possible abuse of process by the Integrity Commission. The trial date is set for March 31 next year. Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert is accused of lying in her income filings to the Integrity Commission. Former general manager of the state-owned Petrojam oil refinery, Floyd Grindley, and the company's former board chairman, Dr. Percival Singh, have been freed of fraud charges. The men were found not guilty in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Tuesday. Dr. Singh was accused of fraudulently submitting claims amounting to $73,000 for overseas travels he allegedly did not make, while Mr. Grindley was accused of aiding and abetting Dr. Singh to process the claims. The events occurred between 2016 and 2018. The men denied the allegations. The judge said there was not enough evidence to show that Dr. Singh intended to commit the crimes or that the two former accused were friends. The judge also argued that systems of accountability were weak at Petrojam and it would not be fair to punish the men. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency which investigated the case said it is disappointed with the outcome but respects the court's decision. The lead attorneys for the men were King's Counsel K.D. Knight and Bert Samuels. Operations at Jamaica's public hospitals and health centres were crippled Monday following a sickout protest by junior doctors over unresolved salary issues with the government. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association says the issues relating to retroactive payments for overtime and the removal of certain incentives have lingered for 20 months. Doctors resumed work Monday evening after an intervention by the Labour Ministry. Talks are ongoing. Meanwhile, several workers of the Gleaner Company Media Limited staged a demonstration Wednesday to protest the entity's decision not to pay new salary rates and retroactive payments for December payroll. The company publishes the Gleaner newspaper, one of the oldest outlets in the Western Hemisphere. CEO of the RGR Gleaner Communications Group, Anthony Smith, said he was surprised at the action of the workers, but he said the management is trying to engage with their union to address the issue. The company said on Thursday that an agreement was reached for certain payments to be made in the December payroll. At least 6 children died under tragic circumstances this week. 2 8-year-old boys were burned to death in a fire that destroyed their Westmoreland home early Thursday morning. Their guardians have been taken into custody. Early indications suggest that the boys, Jamar Reed and Romaine Powell, had been left alone at their home in Culloden in White House, Westmoreland, when tragedy struck. In nearby St. James Parish, the family of 12-year-old Deanna Solomon is grappling with grief following her tragic death outside Irwin High School on Wednesday. Deanna, a grade 7 student, was struck by a Montego Bay Metro bus while attempting to board it with a group of children. She suffered multiple fractures and was rushed to the Cornwall Regional Hospital, where she later died. And in neighbouring Trelawney, tears flowed at the William Knibb Memorial High School in Martha Brae on Thursday morning as staff and students grappled with the news of the passing of 16-year-old grade 11 student Roderick Frank. Roderick, who was seriously injured in a motorcycle accident on Sunday, succumbed to his injuries in hospital. And 2 schoolboys, 14-year-old Jermaine Henry and 16-year-old Niquan Whiteley, were shot dead on Erie Castle Main Road in Stony Hill, St. Andrew on Thursday night. Henry attended Oberlin High while Whiteley was a student at Meadowbrook High. The police have not established a motive for the shooting. Jamaica is one step closer to becoming a republic and moving away from the British monarchy after the government introduced a bill in Parliament to replace King Charles with a ceremonial Jamaican president as the island's head of state. Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort tabled the historic bill in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
Madam Speaker, the tabling of the bill marks the greatest progress made so far in our effort to reform the Constitution of Jamaica to achieve the national goals of having a Jamaican as head of state instead of the hereditary British monarch, and also having our supreme law taken out from under the cloak of the Imperial Order in Council and placed in proper form. Interestingly, Madam Speaker, Today, we also celebrate International Human Rights Day and the 100th anniversary of the birth of former Prime Minister Michael Manley. There are no coincidences.
Mr. Manley was a staunch anti-imperialist and former president of the now opposition People's National Party. That party has made it clear that it will not support the Republic Bill without the simultaneous removal of the UK's Privy Council as Jamaica's final court. It says doing both would fully break colonial ties with Great Britain. However, the government has argued that there is no consensus on the final court and the proposed replacement with the Caribbean Court of Justice. It also said a decision on the court is set for a later phase in the reform process. The government has the numbers in the lower house but needs at least one member of the opposition Senate to support the bill. A referendum will also be required. The minister has said the change will not be completed before the next general election, which is due within 9 months. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson.